Okay, a very good morning to everyone here, including my fellow classmates and our lecturers. So today, my group is going to present on our slide, examining sociolinguistics background of English as second language acquisition. Okay, before we move on to our slides, I will introduce you to our group member first. First, we have Hafiz, me, then Tasnim and Nazmi. Okay, next slide. I'll pass this on to Nazmi now. So here will be our list of contents. First, we will go with introduction. Then we will go with interviewees. Next, findings. We will present our SDG, and lastly for the summary. So first, for the introduction, we will talk about our objective. The first objective for our finding is to identify the difference of language acquisition and usage between interviewee. Second, to explore how social background affect language use. Then, so for the community, we choose the community of university students, which are from the Indonesia itself.
Now we move on to our respective interviewee. Firstly, Alia. She pursued Bachelor of Sociolinguistics with counseling in Visa from Faculty FKI. In extracurricular activities, she does not active in any extracurricular, and she is from Kelantan. Our second interviewee is Muhammad Adli. She is from Bachelor of Law program from Buha Faculty. He is an active member in International Relations Student Society. And he is from Pahang. Now we move on to the key concept. Firstly, we identify speech community. Although this
sorry, is that supposed to do that? The code.
For the key concept of our survey, we observe the speech community behind these two students. Alia major, which is Usuluddin, emphasize on the use of Arabic and Malay. It is required her to actively use Arabic and Malay in her course context. The prevalent use of these two languages among her peers as well contribute to her language use. For example, they prioritize the language of Malay and Arabic more than English itself. So this will shape her language habit and proficiency, leading her hesitation and lack of confidence in speaking English. For example, from the interview, we see that Alia can be seen late in speech when being asked, like she trying to use the correct vocabulary while answering the question. Aside from that, whenever being asked, she also seems to take some time to understand the question. This requires the interview to translate the question in Malay for her. Next is Adi. On the other hand, he is from major student, low major student. This places him in the community that values English proficiency in his course. So this explains his skills with English and his confidence in speaking manner. The next key concept is register. Adli can be seen using formal language most part of his interview, while Alia can be seen using informal language. Aside from that, Alia can also stuttering a lot during the interview, and she also gives short answers without explanation to answer. Meanwhile, Ali on the other hand stutter as well. Both are stuttering, but Ali able to give long answer and explanation to answer the question given. For example, here the quotation from the interview, Alia struggling a lot, and also she took some time to think the correct vocabulary to use while answering. Meanwhile, Adli, she also struggling as well. Here, she also said so many times while interview, but he used the correct vocabulary and grammar to answer the question.
Okay, so moving on for our finding under linguistic variations for the social factors of education. So you can see Alia is from the Faculty of Contemporary Islam, while Adli from Faculty of Law and International Relations. So despite of difference in both of these faculty, we can see the way they answer the question are different. So we can assume that Adli had better vocabulary choices to be used as his course might have better practice for English language compared to Alia. So for example, here when we ask Alia, she answered, my kids before study, of course, I cook, I eating or make some drinks. So compared to Adli, he can answer quite long here. So here are the thing that he speaks. So from here we can compare that there are difference for the social factors of education. So next for the linguistic variation of gender difference. Due to gender difference, we can detect some difference on the way how they answer our question. So Adli tend to answer, he tend to focus more on solving problems. Because when we ask Adli, he explained more on the mechanism of how he take notes. While Alia, when we ask, she said, first I focus on class, I like to small notes. She even used the sign language to show how she liked the small notes. Which she used non-verbal communication, which most likely as a woman she like to show that she just use emotional as how she respond to the question.
Okay. Now moving on to sociolinguistic elements. So first that I'm going to talk about will be grammar. As you can see, Alia's grammar in English is not as proficient as Adli's. This can be seen because Alia is in the course of Sociolinguistic with counselling, so it will be hard for her to be exposed to English more compared to Adli. Since Adli is in Bachelor of Law, English is a very much used language in their subject. A lot of their subject uses English, while for Alia, most of their subject use Arabic or Malay. And so now, for the example here for Alia, you can see here, personally, I make a timetable. I do 50% go 30% studies, and do assignments. I try my best to have the free times. You can see here the grammar is slightly lacking because of how she is not that much exposed to English. Now, on the other hand, look at Adli's example. The biggest thing is taking notes in lectures. You don't sleep in class, and you really have to open your book and write down on paper. As you can see from what Adli said, his grammar is actually very good here compared to Alia's while during this interview. And now, for the second sociolinguistic element is code switching. Alia can be seen switching between the Malay language and English language while conducting this interview with us. As there are words that she doesn't understand during the interviews that we speak when we speak in English. So while on the other hand, Ali conducted the interview fully in English. So for example, Alia had question for us when we are doing the interview like, apa tu? Because she doesn't understand the question that we ask. So as the interviewer explained to her, then she's like, oh, Google macam tu je ke? That's how she did it lah. Okay. Now for Adli, because he did not speak in Malay, so I just give an example where he just speaks in English fully. This question is actually subjective, and there are persons who love to study in group, and there are also persons that love to study alone. Okay.
Okay, then we move on to the sustainable development goals, or we call SDG. And the social development goals that my group has chosen is the fourth development goals, that is quality education. So from our findings, we can see that there are differences in the way the interviewees use the language. So we can see that English language exposure at the university level is different, can vary between person to person. So it is influenced by factors like environment, social interaction, and the field of study that someone chooses to do. And this emphasizes the importance of the way someone studies in their free time. And this is also aligns with the social development, the sustainable development goals that my group has chosen, the fourth one, that is about quality education. And you can see that regardless of the factors mentioned, like the environment, field of study, and social interaction, we have to ensure that everyone has access to education. And how do you get access to education? You can educate a person using language. And you can see that language is used as a tool to obtain or to share knowledge. And the final goal is so that we can move closer to providing quality education for everyone. Okay, and finally, we move on to the conclusion. And for the conclusion, in conclusion, from our findings of the interview, we can see that there are various sociolinguistic factors that affect a person's exposure to a language. You can see factors such as the social network or social circle, like family and friends, and the language attitude that a person decides to take in order to learn a language. Like they can learn the English language, they can learn the Arabic language, but it's all the attitude of the person in order to learn the language. And they all play a crucial part in language exposure. For this case, we can see the English language exposure varies from a person to a study. And these factors reflect how individuals interact using the English language in real life situations as well. And we can observe the distinction between the English language usage. You can see from the previous slides, such as the word choice, the vocabulary, and most importantly is the context that the person uses the language in. And lastly, all of this sums up to highlighting the diverse ways in which sociolinguistic factors shapes an individual experiences using a certain language.
So, are there any questions for us? That was the end of our slides. Questions? Yes.
So Nazmi had mentioned before that one of the interviewee used her hand to answer. So is she used the actual sign language or just gesture?
She used both. No, I mean, she just indicates to show the So she actually made sign language to show small notes. She told
I'm the one that interviewed her. She was having a hard time explaining. It's like this. And then, oh, so small notes. Yes. That's what happened. Okay.
Any more questions? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So why did you choose them?
So why did we choose that? Why did we choose them? Because I feel like it will be easier for us to compare the differences, especially if they are from different courses in different majors.
Were there any similarities at all?
Similarities.
Who interviewed them?
I interviewed Alia about Hafiz interviewed Alia.
So were there any similarities?
I think maybe the only similarities would be their accent. It's kind of more Malay oriented English accent.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah.